Rain pressed softly against the front windows of the bookstore while I sorted new arrivals behind the counter. Saturdays were always busy, but that afternoon, the shop seemed unusually alive, full of damp coats, murmured conversations, and the scent of coffee drifting in from the cafe next door. I moved through the crowd with practiced ease, stacking novels and answering questions without really thinking. Sometimes I wondered if my life had become too predictable, as if every day were simply another page repeating itself. Then the bell above the door rang, and everything shifted. He entered quietly, though something about him made the room feel suddenly still to me. He wore a dark wool coat speckled with rain and ran one hand through slightly damp hair while looking around the shop. There was nothing dramatic about him, yet I noticed him immediately in the way one notices a song that somehow feels familiar. For a moment, he simply stood there, taking in the endless shelves, like someone entering a cathedral. I caught myself staring and quickly looked back down at the books in my hands. The afternoon rush swallowed him for a while, and I lost sight of him between the crowded aisles. Customers kept asking for recommendations, gift wrapping, and directions to the travel section. Still, every now and then I would glance up and catch a brief glimpse of him turning a corner or pausing beside a shelf. It felt strangely comforting, knowing he was still somewhere nearby. I could not explain why his presence unsettled me in such a gentle way. About 20 minutes later, he approached the counter carrying nothing in his hands. "Excuse me," he said, his voice calm and warm. "Do you happen to have a copy of The Shadow of the Wind?" The way he smiled when he asked made my heart stumble unexpectedly. I told him we had one last copy upstairs in the literature section and offered to show him where it was. He thanked me as though I had done something extraordinary. We climbed the narrow staircase together, while the noise from downstairs faded into a soft blur. Somewhere above us, an old jazz song played quietly from the speakers hidden between the shelves. When I handed him the book, our fingers brushed for the briefest second, and a strange warmth spread through me. He looked at the cover for a moment before saying almost shyly, "Books always seem to find me exactly when I need them." I laughed softly and told him I felt the same. What began as a simple conversation about novels somehow became something far more personal. We talked about cities we wanted to visit, childhood dreams, and how certain books could change the direction of a life. His name was Daniel, and he listened in a way that made every word I said feel important. Around us, customers passed by, without noticing the tiny world forming between two shelves of forgotten classics. I remember thinking that time itself seemed slower there. At one point, he asked me what my favorite book was, and I admitted it changed every month depending on my mood. He smiled and said people who loved stories usually carried too many versions of themselves inside them. The sentence lingered in the air between us long after he said it. I had known him less than 15 minutes, yet somehow it felt as though he understood something hidden inside me. Outside, the rain had stopped and pale sunlight filtered through the tall windows. Then his phone vibrated, breaking the fragile spell around us. I saw apology cross his face before he even looked at the screen. "I have to go," he said quietly, almost reluctantly. We walked downstairs together through the crowded shop, both suddenly awkward, as if neither of us wanted the moment to end first. At the register, he paid for the book, and we exchanged one last lingering smile. The bell above the door rang again as he stepped back into the street. For several seconds, I stood frozen behind the counter, watching him disappear into the moving crowd outside. Only afterward did realization hit me with embarrassing force. We had forgotten to exchange phone numbers. I replayed every moment in my mind, wondering why neither of us had thought to ask. The bookstore suddenly felt far too large and strangely empty. That evening, after we closed, I wandered through the silent aisles, turning off the lights one by one. His voice still echoed softly in my memory, blending with the scent of old paper and rain-soaked coats. Part of me feared I would never see him again, that he would remain only a beautiful accident in the middle of an ordinary Saturday. Yet another part of me believed some encounters are too meaningful to vanish completely. And ever since that day, every time the bell above the door rings, my heart still looks up first,